The health department is acknowledging a number of COVID milestones in Hamilton County this week. Our Mary Frances Hoots has been looking into all of the new developments, and she joins us right now in the studio with the state of the virus in the area. Mary Frances.
Cindy, since the virus hit, the county has given out 200,000 doses of the COVID vaccine and administered 140,000 PCR tests. 1,000 people have died, but deaths are going down. The Hamilton County Health Department continues the fight against COVID. As of February 2nd, they have given out 200,000 doses of the vaccine. That number does not represent other organizations who also give them out.
I think that's a very impressive number for the health department to have given out. I think they've really, by and large, done a very good job, both with outreach, vaccine delivery.
Dr. Jensen Hyde, an MD at Erlanger, says Hamilton County's vaccination rate at 60% is low compared to the rest of the population. As far as the prevalence of the virus in our community, Dr. Hyde says you are less likely to get severely sick if you get Omicron compared to Delta. But the number of Omicron cases is much higher than any wave we've seen in Hamilton County.
Omicron has had yet its own flavor, so to speak. So the magnitude of the number of cases we've seen of Omicron is it's hard to even wrap your head around.
Omicron is also the first wave where we've had such wide access to at-home testing. The 7-day average per 100,000 cases in the county is at 221. During the Alpha wave, it peaked at 135.
We've now almost doubled our prior peaks in reported cases.
Hamilton County has reported 1,000 deaths since COVID began. Those numbers are going down in this wave.
I think there's some promising evidence that at least this wave is hopefully starting to turn here. It has turned already in other parts of the country, but we started our uptick later than they did.
The health department operates a COVID hotline, which serves as a resource to answer questions you may have about the virus. That number is 423-209-8383. Cindy.
Thanks, Mary Frances. The Hamilton County Health Department will be at College Hill Courts next Thursday, that's a week from today, to give free COVID vaccines for children ages 5 to 11. The event runs from 3 until 6. No appointment is necessary, but a parent or legal guardian must be present. A horrible ending to what was originally sent out as an Amber Alert. Memphis police say the 2-day-old baby they were looking for is dead. Police and other law enforcement agencies are searching for the remains of the infant, Kennedy Hoyle. The mother, Danielle Hoyle, was found dead in her car yesterday. The father, Brandon Isabel, was arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. A fire at a downtown homeless camp left a woman with serious burns last night. The incident happened on Middle Street. Police say she was burned in a tent up the Riverwalk. Someone took her to a bathroom at the park. From there, firefighters took her to the hospital. Officials say she suffered burns to 15% of her body and was taken to a burn center in Georgia. We're learning more about a deadly crash on Gadd Road at Austin Road yesterday. Both the driver and the passenger were taken to the hospital with injuries. The driver later died. Chattanooga police are asking anyone with information to call the number on your screen or submit a tip. The investigation is ongoing. School administrators say several students were arrested yesterday after an altercation at Cleveland City High School. Cleveland police say the fight happened in the commons area at the school. Right now, they aren't sure how the fight began, but say the students could face suspension or expulsion depending on what police find. We'll continue to keep you up to date as we learn more. Well, church members in Athens are getting together tonight for a conversation centered around a graphic novel about the Holocaust. McMinn County School Board members gained national attention last month for banning the book Maus. This Pulitzer Prize-winning book tells the story of author Art Spiegelman's relationship with his father, a Holocaust survivor. The novel portrays Jewish people as mice and Nazis as cats. During a meeting last month, McMinn County School Board members voted to remove the book from their school, citing profanity and nudity. That move by the board has caused a storm of responses from across the country and from the author.
I think they're so myopic in their focus, and they're so afraid of what's implied in having to defend the decision to teach mouse as part of the curriculum, that it led to this kind of daffily myopic response.
Well, in response to that, St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Athens is hosting a discussion about the book tonight. Church leaders say it's important to come together to connect community members by learning about the Holocaust. Tonight's meeting will start at 7 over Zoom. Coming up on Local 3 News at 4, a raid in Syria last night took out a major ISIS leader. More details and the president's reaction next. You are looking at a live picture right now of I-24. This is west of Seminole Drive. Traffic is moving along quite nicely. We understand the heavier rain is going to be moving in, so if you have somewhere to go, get there, stay there, and try to keep from being in an accident during this evening commute. It looks like it's going to be heavy. President Biden addressed the nation this morning following a raid in Syria that led to the death of a leader of ISIS. Military officials say the ISIS leader detonated an explosive, killing himself and civilians. The Biden administration called the counterterrorism operation successful and says the world is a safer place. NBC's Bree Jackson reports.
Mr. President, one word about Syria.
The counterterrorism raid happened overnight in northwestern Syria, killing the leader of the Islamic State terrorist group. Speaking at the White House Thursday, President Biden praised the work of U.S. Special Forces.
And thanks to the bravery of our troops, this horrible terrorist leader is no more.
According to U.S. officials, the ISIS leader was on the third floor of the building when U.S. special operators arrived. Senior administration officials say the target exploded a bomb that killed himself and members of his own family, including women and children. President Biden and Vice President Harris watched the raid from the Situation Room.
Sent a strong message to terrorists around the world. We will come after you and find you.
The Biden administration says the suicide bombing appears to be the same cowardly terrorist tactic seen in the 2019 operation that eliminated al-Baghdadi. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
The president says all American forces involved in the raid returned safely from the operation. Coming up on Local 3 News at 4, some students at a nearby elementary school were served raw chicken at lunch this week. Hear how parents are reacting next. Students at an elementary school in Murray County were served raw chicken at lunch. It happened at Coker Elementary School this week. Local 3's Liam Collins is in the studio now with what has parents concerned. Liam.
Yeah, Cindy, hey, good evening to you. And a district spokesperson tells me the issue has been addressed, but a letter sent home to parents says all of the chicken tenders were thrown away immediately, and then kids were served fully cooked chicken nuggets. Now, this happened on Tuesday and affected kids from kindergarten to second grade at Coker Elementary School. A spokesperson says the district does not normally accept raw chicken, but it was accepted as a substitute this week. In the letter, the district says that the chicken was cooked according to normal procedure, but larger pieces were not cooked thoroughly. Angel Henderson's kids go to this school. She says she wished the school had contacted parents immediately instead of the school sending a letter home with students telling them what happened.
To me, the school could have handled that a little bit better. I mean, they call us 900 times a day to tell us somebody got COVID or somebody did this or somebody did that. Why couldn't they sent out a phone call to let us know our children were served raw chicken?
Henderson says she's been sending her kids to school with snacks. She told her kids if they did not feel safe eating the lunch the school was serving to eat their snacks instead. She says they did just that. Now, a district spokesperson says the chicken substitute was due to supply chain issues with their normal product. Staff will continue using the raw chicken to cook, but he says they have been retrained on how to cook it properly. They will switch back to their normal product once it's available again. Cindy.
All right, Liam, thank you. Now we want to send it back over to meteorologist Clay Smith live in the Storm Alert Center for a look at your forecast, and he's going to give us more about the timing of all of this rain coming in. Clay.
Well, Cindy, we're starting to see the first initial batch of heavy rain push through this evening. Again, a lot of action going on across much of the country. We have winter storm warnings from Dallas up into New England. We have flash flood watches here locally and a tornado watch along the Gulf Coast into central Alabama. In fact, the city of Birmingham currently under a tornado warning as we speak. So again, just a lot going on, a very strong system. And you can see that snow shield from really Oklahoma all the way up into portions of the Ohio Valley, but notice we're in the green, which means all liquid precipitation here across the valley. But we will start to drop as far as temperatures going into later this evening, especially early Friday. Still dealing with some pretty major icing into western Tennessee. Memphis Metro, over 100,000 people without power at this hour. So again, this has been a very significant winter storm just off to our northwest. But again, locally, we're just dealing with some of that heavier rain now pushing into the Chattanooga area and along I-59 into Fort Payne. So a lot of heavy rain pushing across northeast Alabama and along the plateau up into Dunlap, places like Grundy and Marion counties, and Ray and Meigs County also starting to get in on some of that rain. So that's going to continue to push off into our other regions, especially across North Georgia and western North Carolina within the next hour or so. So by about 5 o'clock, the entire area is going to be covered in pretty widespread heavy rain. You can see that moving right along the I-75 corridor into Athens, Benton, and eventually into Murphy, Blue Ridge, and Ellijay a little bit later. And again, it's just kind of a nasty evening, and this is pretty bad timing because we are tracking that commute home from work. So if you are heading out or heading back home, be sure you're taking it easy. Again, this is using our Holiday Inn cam over downtown Chattanooga. Low cloud ceilings and just a nasty evening, and we're going to continue to see weather go downhill for the next couple of hours. But again, temperatures are relatively mild considering back off to the west we're in the 30s and 20s. Locally we're at 64 in Cleveland, 58 in Blue Ridge, and 61 in Dalton. So enjoy these temperatures because after this front pushes through, it's going to turn a lot colder, and we're going to continue to see that heavier rain push across the region through the latter half of the evening, even into the overnight hours. We're going to see some of this rain continuing, but any severe threat across North Georgia and portions of Alabama is going to be very slim, and it will end pretty quickly as that colder air moves in. Also could be a little bit of light freezing rain on the backside of this along the plateau, but shouldn't cause too many issues as far as slick spots, but we'll watch that closely. But through the rest of the evening, we're looking at an additional 1 to 2 to maybe isolated pockets of 3 inches of rain, and that's why we're still under a flash flood watch until 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So just keep that in mind if you are traveling out and about. Also, a severe threat remains into central Alabama. Northern Georgia may squeeze out a gusty wind or two, so we'll keep that trend in focus as we head through the rest of the evening. But after tomorrow morning, we start to dry out and it turns much cooler heading into your weekend.